What's up guys, Volt here, bringing you a brand new Fast and Furious car remake. In today's remake, I am bringing you the 1991 Dodge Stealth that was in the Turbo Charged Prelude driven by Brian O'Connor. Now, this car is essentially at first glance a 3000 GT, but the real car was actually a 1991 Dodge Stealth from a guy on the Mitsubishi forums called Dr. Scrub. A little bit of a backstory on this car. This car appears in the little snippet extra that they called the Turbo Charged Prelude, where essentially it explains what happened between the Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious. It also tried to push the sales as well, which I think it was a really good little snippet. It was really cool, and it actually explained quite a bit and actually how he got down to Florida. In a sense, it shows where Brian was running from the cops, and he actually had to change his identity, have a different car because he gave the Supra to Dom, and this was supposed to be a 3000 GT, but upon further looking at it and upon further information, it's actually a 1991 Dodge Stealth, but beyond that. But later on, the cops actually catch up to him, and he actually loses his car after winning a few races, not too many, and then later on down the road he finds his R34. He does a bunch of races, changes the paint on it, changes the rims, goes down to Florida, and then it kind of just cuts off him seeing the Supra and the RX-7 drive by, and it just kind of sets the scene for the next movie, which is really cool. This car was more or less like for show. It wasn't too much for go. Don't expect it to be like super modified and all that stuff. Actually, it was mainly cosmetic, a few bolt-ons underneath the hood, but other than that, it didn't have like anything super special done to it. There's a couple like body kit modifications, a nice spoiler on there, and it did look pretty close to a 3000 GT. In a sense, they are pretty much almost exactly the same, just a few different modifications done to it. But this car was actually requested by a lot of people, and I'll definitely put all those, as many as I can find, on screen right now. So thank you all very much for requesting this, guys. I love you so much. Hopefully I did this car justice. This is about the best I could do for the build, and I mean, it's the closest I could get. We actually have something that looks relatively similar to a 3000 GT slash Dodge Stealth, even though this is, I know, none of those. Anyways, as we always do, we're going to start off with the base price. You want to go to the internet, you want to go up here to the Travel and Transport website, you want to go down to the Legendary Motorsport website, you want to go down and you want to find the Anus Euros X32, part of the Bottom Dollar Bounties DLC. Now, there's no trade price for this vehicle, so you're going to be paying a whopping $1,499,000 for this. So there you go for that. And then once you have your car and you have your color, meet us at the Los Santos Car Meet location, as you can see here. So let's go over and customize the beauty. So as you pull in, the Anus Euros is in the coupe category. I mean, it should be self-explanatory. It is a two-door sports car. It looks relatively similar to a 3000 GT slash Dodge Stealth in a sense, more or less like a Dodge Stealth. But the Dodge Stealth in the actual Prelude and everything, it had like a body kit on it to make it look closer to a 3000 GT. And again, this is the best I could do in game. So hopefully people aren't too mad about it or too upset or complain about it. Oh, this isn't it. This is not it. That don't look anything like it. I know it don't. This is about the closest thing I could get though, compared to using like a ZR350, which would be an RX-7. But yeah, this is what I came up with. So as I go over all my builds, I go over the overall look, the visual appearance, and the basic design, the car, and how it's portrayed in a movie and game or anywhere else in general itself. Anything I don't go over is completely up to you. I just put a few staples in on my build. If you want to recreate my build or take some things away from my build, you're more than welcome to. But without further ado, let's get into the build. So I'm not going to go over the modifications on the performance because it does actually have HSW. I will say one thing though, we're just going to go right down here to the turbo. It was naturally aspirated, which means it didn't have a turbocharger, it didn't have a supercharger, anything like that. But unfortunately, it comes stock with a turbo tuning option whenever you actually upgrade it to HSW. So if you don't want to upgrade to HSW, that's completely understandable and completely fine. If you do, go for it. I mean, it's not really, you're not going to barely hear the turbo, even if you put a stage 3 turbo on there. I doubt you're gonna barely hear it, but I'm just gonna keep the stock stage turbo there. It's about all I can do. Everything else I have is pretty much HSW brakes, HSW engine, all that stuff. Completely up to you if you want to upgrade to the HSW or not. That's why I came here. That's one of the reasons. Also, the lights are another reason, but we'll get to that here in a second. So we're gonna start off with the very first part, which is the bumper panel. You want to go with the stock bumper panel. It didn't have any kind of like blacked out or chrome look to it. It was all one solid color, which was red, and the stock bumper panel is the best option to go for it there. After that, move on to the exhaust. I went with the large exhaust. It did have a big bore exhaust on the back side, both on each side, 1-1. But sad part is these are kind of like angled downward, but this is about the closest thing we can get. There's no other bigger exhaust for this other than the oval exhaust, which I don't think fits really well. If you want to go for those, go for it. But I still think the bigger large exhaust is the better option to go for, even though they're kind of like bent, which is kind of, I don't know if it's a safety issue or what, but Yeah, that's what I'm going for. After that, you want to move on to the grill. You want to go with the black grill inserts. Now, what I did for this is it was pretty much didn't have anything in the front. It kind of looked like it had no mesh in there. So to kind of make it a little bit more invisible, a little bit more looking a little closer to the actual grill, I'll kind of get a picture if I can on the actual grill from the actual like little video clip. It looked kind of close like this, so I went with the black grill inserts. I think it fits the best for the build out of everything else, in my opinion. There's no mesh, there's no like extra wiring or like change to the grill. It's kind of bare in my opinion. I don't even think it has an intercooler because again, it didn't have a supercharger or a turbo. So yeah, I would just go with the black grill inserts, best option there. After that, move on to the hood. You want to go with the street hood. I think this is the best option to go for. Hood had like a kind of like hood scoop on there, as well as like a couple scoops on one side. I think it was on this side over here. There's no better option to go for other than possibly going for something along the lines of like maybe something like primary race competition spec. It just doesn't look right in my opinion. I'd rather just have the kind of like a little bit more of a hood scoop look to it with the street hood, but that's just my pick on it. I guess you could go with whatever you wish, but this is the one I'm going for here. After that, move on to the lights. You want to go with the headlights. You just want to go with the golden shower lights. It was an older style car. The lights were kind of like had a little bit of a yellowish tint to it. I would definitely go with that. If you don't want to do that or if you don't have the money to do it, you can keep the stock lights, but I mean, I think they're a little bit too whitish blue, so that's why I went for the golden shower lights. After that, move on to the neon kits. You want to go with the neon layout. It's going to be none because there was no neon on the car. Again, it was for show, but it didn't have any neon on this one at least. Yeah, I would just definitely go with none for the neon layout. I want to take this time to apologize for Hal talking in the corner. I kind of forgot about him. It doesn't really bother me, but it might bother you guys. Easy way to fix it, if you guys don't know, you can just drive out and drive back in and he'll actually move to some other different position over here. He's over at the table now, so he's not going to be bothering us right now. Moving on with the customization. We want to go to the livery next, and there's no livery on this car, so don't worry about adding or changing anything on there. This is definitely GTA 6 livery. That's 100%. The detail is insane. After that, move on to the louvers. You want to go with no louvers. It was a nice clear back window. I definitely don't think you need louvers or anything extra on there, so definitely go with no louvers. Best option there. After that, move on to the plate. You want to go with a blue and white 2 because they were still from California, so it does make sense to have a blue and white 2 plate. And since we don't really actually see the plate in the actual little prelude snippet, I mean, he did have a front plate on his car IRL, but I think they probably took that off. And they probably just kept the back plate on there and maybe just kept his normal plate on there. I just went with my Dr. Scrub one I made just because it was the person that the car was owned by and everything. So it just kind of pays tribute to him. If you want to, you could go with like Too Fast and Furious. You could go with Brian. You could go with like a 1327 plate. You could go with any kind of plate you want. But I'll definitely stick with the blue and white 2. The best option to go for there. After that, move on to the rear diffuser. You want to go with the secondary rear diffuser. The reason I say this is because the carbon rear diffuser doesn't look their best, and the secondary rear diffuser, it kind of cuts out like where it's supposed to be for the exhaust, and they are actually supposed to be like kind of boxed in to an extent in the side and like in the middle as well. So it's supposed to be like rear spats, but unfortunately we can't get that on this car, so I would definitely go with the secondary diffuser. It still gives the kind of like look to it, and then it also makes it supposed to be all one color because the secondary and primary are both the same color. Unfortunately, there's no primary option, so you just have to go with the secondary option. It's a little bit more expensive, but hey, if you want to get the build, then I would definitely go with that. Saving respray for last, move on to the side louvers. You want to go with none because it didn't have any louvers on the side. It was all just glass. So yeah, just definitely go with none. Best option there. After that, move on to the skirts. I went with the secondary race skirts. They kind of had like a body kit to the actual car, but I can't really design it all that well. So I think the secondary race skirts kind of give the kind of illusion of that body kit to an extent. I know that kind of extends out and everything. You could probably go with something along the lines of like maybe just like the secondary side plates or something like that. I feel like it needs that extra little lip and stuff there. So I went with the secondary race skirts just because it kind of puts it a little bit closer. I think these stick out a little bit too far. At least the secondary race skirts are a little bit closer to the actual car, and it looks a little closer in my personal opinion. Either secondary race skirts or go with the secondary side plates. I would say either of those two work pretty well for this build. But me, I'm going with the secondary race skirts. After that, move on to the splitters. I went with the secondary dropped splitter. The reason I went for this is because it kind of makes it all one color, for one. It doesn't have the extra hole there. As you can see for this one here, there's an extra hole right there in the front, which we don't want. We do kind of want this extra little like lip on the front there like this, and I was actually tempted on doing this. Plus it also kind of gives the kind of cutout for the front bumper right there. As you can see, it has like a little cutout in the middle there. Unfortunately, it should be on the actual bumper, but we can't get that. So I just want to keep it a little bit easier, a little bit more simpler, and I just went with the secondary dropped splitter. I think it fits really well. It still gives it really nice look and texture to it. You definitely do want the splitter on there because it was a little bit longer of a body kit. So yeah, I say secondary drop splitter splitter, best option to go for there. After that, move on to the spoiler. I went with the Anus wing. I think it is the closest thing for the actual wing in the actual Prelude. I guess you could go with like the hooped wing if you really wanted to. I just don't think it fits really well. This kind of has like the more, a little closer design to it, even though it has like the wings on the side and everything. It was closer to the actual wings that are on some of the other cars that we have, but unfortunately we can't get anything like that. But yeah, I would say the best option to go for is the Anus wing. It just looks the best, fits the best for the build. If you don't want that, the next best option to go for is the hooped wing. Take your pick. After that, move on to the sun strips. If you actually look close enough in the actual Prelude, and I'll again circle it in my pictures and everything, you actually did have a black sun strip on there. Yes, I would say go with the black sun strip. The best option to go for there. It kind of gives the actual look to it as well. After that, move on to suspension. This is a little bit of a tricky one. It was low, but it wasn't super low. So I went with the sport suspension. I guess the most you could probably go with is a sport suspension. If you really want to, you could go competition. It really doesn't lower it super much, but it does camber the wheels a little bit, so I was kind of skeptical on actually lowering it down to sport. I may raise it back up to street, but I mean, it's very subtle, so take your pick on what you want to do there. I think either the two that would work the best is either street or sport, but that's just my personal opinion. Again, like I said, it's naturally aspirated, so if you do upgrade to HSW, it's going to automatically add a turbo there. You don't want that, so if you don't want to upgrade to HSW, that's completely understandable, and it does actually probably work better for the build. Again, it was all for show, not really much for go. Yeah, no supercharger, no turbocharger, nothing like that. Just try to either keep it stock like this if you have an HSW, or don't put one on it at all. After that, move on to the wheels. You want to go to wheel type. Now, this is where I had a little bit of trouble, but this is about the closest ones I could come up with. You want to go to the tuner rims, you want to go to the chrome rims, and you want to put on the Rally Master. Now, these have the kind of same design spokes to them a little bit. They curve inward very subtly, as you can see, very subtly. They don't actually go to the actual edge of the rims, unfortunately. And the middle part of the actual rim doesn't look anything like the actual rims either. But the spokes look the really closest, and it actually has the least amount of options for the actual spokes as well. So I would say these are the best to go for. The tires were actually pretty big as well. The rims weren't really like super big like they would go for the sport option. As you can see how they fit more on the actual tire, like taking up more of the tire room. Another option I actually went for or thought about going for was the S Racer rims. These actually have the kind of same kind of middle to them. They curve a lot inward, but they actually do go the edge of the actual rim, and they actually have the same kind of spoke design as well. They just have a lot more spokes than the actual ones I have on, which are the tuner chrome Rally Master. It's up to personal preference on this. If you guys have any options that you think work better, please let me know. I will definitely check them out, and if it is a better option, I will definitely change it in the top 10 comment. But yeah, as for right now, I'm going with the chrome Rally Master rims in the tuner category. After that, move on to the wheel color. It's chrome, so you can't really do anything about that. From there, move on to the tires. You want to go to tire design. You just want to keep them stock. Didn't have any tire text or anything custom on the actual tires, so make sure to keep them blank or, nothing. Stock tires, I guess. After that, move on to the tire enhancements. You want to go with the standard tires. You don't want low grips. It wasn't drifting. You could go bulletproof tires. It is GT Online. I understand that. Completely your call if you want to go for that. But you know me, I like going with more realistic type builds, as close as I can get anyways, and standard tires are pretty much what I go to for most of my builds. From there, move on to the tire smoke. You just want to go the white tire smoke. I don't see a point in changing this. Last for the respray is windows. You want to go with a nice dark limo tint. It was dark, like really dark tint. Now in the Prelude, it actually has his windows down, which that's understandable. But in the actual real life car I actually saw, the windows were actually pretty dark. They were tinted out and everything, so I would definitely go with the limo tint. Best option to go for there. Alright, and I'll see you guys in 2 seconds with a rolled steel primer color. Alright, and we're back. As you see on my car, my primered out rolled steel. Pretty much what I always do for all my builds. That way you know what colors I'm going to be doing for the LSC color and custom crew color. This time, guys, it's just going to be an LSC color. I don't see an option to make a custom crew color for it. It does seem like it's a really vibrant red, but I mean, you can get away with an LSC color for this. If you want me to make a custom crew color, I can, I guess. Don't really see a point in doing so because there is a decently viable option in the LSC colors to use. So you want to go to the primary option, you want to go to the classics, you want to go down to the reds, and you just want to go with the Torino red. After that, move on to the secondary color, down to classic, go down to the reds, and just put on the Torino red. Both colors are both the same, so Torino red is the best option to go for. Torino red is also the highest and brightest red in the LSC color option, and that's what I think fits the best for the build. And yeah, guys, that's it. That's how you recreate the 1991 Dodge Stealth from Turbo Charged Prelude, or Too Fast, Too Furious, and The Fast and Furious. I think it turned out pretty decent for what we have in game. It looks kind of similar to a 3000 GT. I'm not saying it looks exactly like one. I would say 60, maybe 70% close to it compared to other cars in game. And this is about the closest thing I could get anyways. Hopefully you guys are happy with the build, and we're just gonna go back to our parking spot. Alright, so we'll go outside. I think it's probably gonna be dark out actually. Alright, so we're outside, guys. We have a little bit of sunshine left, which is nice. So I can do a little spin for you guys real quick. Again, the red is pretty vibrant. You don't need to worry about a pearl because it is a classic color. The rims were chrome, which is really cool as well. And the darked out windows were pretty cool too. I actually did think that this car was pretty cool in the actual Turbo Charged Prelude. And the funny thing was, the car that he was racing at the very beginning, the blue Honda Civic, was actually more popular than this thing. But yeah, that's pretty much the build. Hope you guys enjoy it. Go for a little bit of a drive. Again, if you have the HSW on here, it does upgrade the performance 100%. Does it sound like it? No, it kind of needs more of a more raspier exhaust or engine sound, I guess you could say. I think it looks pretty close anyways guys, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave comments down in the comment section down below for what build you'd like to see next. I'm getting back into builds, guys. Like I said, I've been on a little bit of a break. I've been trying to get my schedule figured out and everything, and I hope you guys did enjoy this one. It did take a little bit of time and extra effort to actually make and design and actually think about. I've had this built for a while since the car came out because I actually thought about it, and I'm like, this is a pretty close build for that, and it does look pretty similar. Anyways, guys, links down in the description below for Twitter, Discord, and the crew. Free to join, free to leave anytime you wish. With all that being said, guys, I hope you have a great day/night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the love and support, as always, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Catch you guys later, and I'm out. Peace.